an Arlington NAACP leader. Serves
Good morning. This is the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I happen to save a soul along the way, don't hold that against me. We'll just call that icing on the cake, because the mission at the Marketing Pulpit Show is to build strong businesses in our community. Now, if we get to this mission and we get things right, then we're going to be putting people to work, building these jobs. And if you ever find yourself at a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit Show. That's right, because we're on a mission. That's right, we're on a mission, folks. Now, I'll tell you what, enough talk. Let's get this show on the road. All right, welcome to the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, and I am your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. I'd like to shout out to all of the new listeners. Thank you for tuning in to this show. We have been growing by leaps and bounds. We're glad to be back in the studio, broadcasting live over Radio One in the illustrious studios in Silver Spring, Maryland. This is 95.9 FM. And you can go to marketingpulpit.com to find out more about the show. You can find out about past shows. You can listen to some of the interviews we've had over the years. Also, you can go to YouTube. You can go to Facebook. You can go to Twitter. And you can go to LinkedIn. So we'd like to welcome everybody from all those different platforms. I'm Robert Gatewood. I'm a business developer by trade. I've been working in the business arena probably about 30 plus years. I've had my own company. Matter of fact, my company is Gatewood Marketing and Web. You can go to gatewoodmarketing.com. But I spent about 30 or so years in the corporate boardrooms and had to take some of that information. And because I was in a, what do you call it, unfair fight, I was on the side of the corporate oligarchs. And we're just stumping the small business owners. So what I decided to do, I jumped ship. I decided to jump the other side. So I've been helping out small companies now for most of my last 30 years or so. And also, I'm also an adjunct professor at Prince George's Community College, where I teach marketing, business strategies, social media strategies, and networking. I've written 2 books, one called Played in Full and one called Smarter Than the Boss. I'm also a consultant with the Small Business Administration, where I help companies in the 8A program. So yeah, like the young folks say, I got some receipts, but that's not the brag, but that's to say, when you're taking advice from people, and many of us do, you need to make sure the people that are giving you the advice know what they're doing. And I don't just talk this. I'm just not a theorist. I actually do this. When I leave this studio today, I'll be back in my office in Largo, Maryland, and I'm working with clients like Neely Fuller Jr., clients like Joe Madison. But you don't have to be a star to be in my show. We take companies from their inception all the way up to venture capitalists, wherever you're trying to go. And so I decided to start this show as a way of giving back, because everybody can afford my services. I mean, my services are not cheap. I mean, it's all relative. But some services are so vital that the inability to pay for them is not a good enough excuse not to get it. Like food, you have to eat, right? Whether you have money or not, people still need to eat. We just have to find ways to make those services that are vital to us more affordable or accessible in other ways. So that's why this show is here. This is part of my mission. My reason for being, my raison d'etre. Have an exciting show lined up today. Now, later in the show, you've heard people talk about quiet quitting. Well, people just decide to just give up. Hey, look, I'm going to work to the exact amount of the requirement. I'm not going to do anything extra. I'm not going to put in the extra miles. And that's a term that has gained traction over the last few months, quiet quitting. So I have a question for you business owners out there. Are you quiet quitting your business? Have you gotten to the point where you just like, it's not worth it anymore? I'm just doing this now to get through. I'm going to be closing up shop in a few days. Well, we're going to talk about quiet quitting, and this is part of a broader topic of business failure or business going out of business. And that is not a victimless, I call it not a victimless crime. There are victims. When you decide to close up shop, this is not something that should be taken lightly. So if you're quiet quitting and you're thinking about finding the exit door, I want you to hear this segment coming up after the break. And we're going to talk about quiet quitting and the broader topic of when you decide to go out of business, it leaves a trail of victims. And many people don't consider it. They don't think about it. They just, oh, shoot, I tried it. What the heck? People have put all their trust and faith in you. So now you leave them hanging dry. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the accomplices who helped you in this crime. We're going to talk about some of the consequences and what drove us into this. Because since the pandemic, we have this obsession now. Everybody wants to run out and start a business. And I'm not mad at you because I've been one of the biggest proponents. I've been like a social justice, business starting warrior. But I have changed my tune when I've seen some of the collateral damage that can result from a failed business. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some things that are happening in the news. We've started a segment called War in the Workplace. And this was started because of all the mayhem that happened as a result of people being locked down. But so much so that I started a segment called War in the Workplace, where people have actually turned on each other, stakeholders, clients and customers and vendors and suppliers and partners. People have literally turned on each other. So we have a segment called War in the Workplace. We talk about some of the news items where we actually see actual war going on between these different stakeholders. Now, this month is also an anniversary, a couple of anniversaries. One, we recognize the birthday of our great esteemed Dick Gregory. He was born in October 12th. His birthday was a couple of days ago, born on October 12th, 1932. So this would have been his 90th birthday. He was a civil rights activist. He was a comedian. He was an advocate for eating healthy. And so we miss him. He was, when I think about people who have put the various patches on the quilt of my life, I think about Dick Gregory and that he added a patch, what I call a fearlessness. Everybody that you encounter somehow leave their mark on you. Well, I met Mr. Gregory once over at Howard University. We were doing an event for the National Urban League where I was a consultant. And I met him and we talked briefly and we took a picture, but every time I think of him, I think about how I used to admire him from a distance and his fearlessness. All of these people out here that are doing this work, this justice work, it has some risk. I mean, people literally would like to take your life or harm you in physical and financial ways, mental ways. But then the people that do it right have committed to it, have made it their purpose. There is that streak of fearlessness that I've grown to admire. So I want to say happy birthday, heavenly birthday to Mr. Dick Gregory. Also, about 27 years ago, there was a march over in Washington, D.C. It was called the Million Man March. It was on October 16th, 1995. I was there. Matter of fact, I met three of my brothers out there. We came from different parts of the country, and we gathered on the mall. And so that's another milestone that we're recognizing, the Million Man March. I think there was a million men out there, and it was peaceful, it was enlightening, it was spiritual, it was inspirational. And so I think it's worthy of our recognition, which it will take place on the 16th of this month, recognizing the Million Man March. Let's see what else is going on. I also want to thank one of my inspirations and clients, BLE Executive Suites over in Largo, Maryland. They have been an inspiration and a pioneer helping small companies get off the ground. And they have been sponsoring this show and providing assistance to companies of all sizes. They waved and survived the pandemic. They came out stronger because they were helping people during those times. They were providing Zoom rooms and leadership and advice. So I just want to do a hats off to BLE Executive Suites. They have 3 locations. They have one over in Largo, Maryland. They have one in College Park, which is a hub zone. They also have one over in National Harbor. And so if you need a business address, you need a business address for certain types of businesses. And if you need a private suite for some of those government contracts, they can provide that for you as well. And some companies are deciding to downgrade because of, I guess, people are working from home now, so they don't need as much space. So BLE has been perfect for that. Anyway, go to blesuites.com and find out more about them. It's a great company. It's Black-owned business, and we're glad to be associated with them because partnerships. I did my 10 commandments of marketing last week, and matter of fact, number 9 was partnerships, building those relationships. You need to tie your wagon to somebody, to something. You need to tether that dream. And the best way to do that is to tie it to successful organizations and people. And so when I look at people like BLE and Radio One and Madison and Neely Fuller and Billy Jolly and people like that, those people have been pivotal in my upward trajectory. And so as part of, if you want to go back and listen to the show from last week, we talked about the 10 commandments of marketing. It's worth a good listening. Listen, all of the shows you can get at marketingpulpit.com. Let's talk about some of the things in the news. We have this war in the workplace. People are still acting the fool. Like, I don't know what's going on with people. I remember once upon a time when food fight, that meant, somebody throw a hot dog across the room, hit you in the head, or throw some ketchup on you. Well, food fight has taken on a new meaning since this lockdown. People came out swinging, I'm telling you. McDonald's worker guns down his manager after a dispute. Popeye's chicken manager arrested for slapping an employee. Little Caesar shoots her employer because he wouldn't give her job back. I don't think that's the way to do it. I mean, that's just me. Local fast food employee admits to pointing gun at 3 women. Now, you think this is something out of a horror movie. Woman at McDonald's in DC. She shot and drove herself to the hospital. Well, at least I guess she survived. Man accused of killing Chinese delivery driver over duck sauce. And they found out he had a refrigerator full of duck sauce in his house. Now, what is all this to say? This is to say, first of all, I give these stories because I don't want you to become a party to it. And I've been saying this since the pandemic. Don't escalate. Don't be that person that takes it to the next level. Walk away, because I have a personal stake in this. I don't want my clients out here shooting each other. I don't want my clients in jail. I mean, it's hard enough out here. Come on, it's hard enough as it is. We don't need to be out here going to jail because we're doing something silly. But thank goodness we have the school teachers and the people in the community who are doing things to keep us on the straight and narrow. So I do hats off to the teachers, to the people in the nursing industry, and I have a special fondness for teachers. Let me see if I have a story here for teachers to give them a little love. Let's see, 5th grade teacher arrested over an active kill list of students and teachers. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, that didn't age well. Wait a minute, a 5th grade teacher arrested over an active kill list of students and teachers. Well, I must say, I did a summer camp over at Prince George's Community College one summer. And I'm not going to say I'm in solidarity with the teacher, but that's a horrible thing to do. But man, I tell you, it can get really tough in those classrooms. Teachers are underpaid. They're under stress. But matter of fact, I tell you what, I do this. I do this from time to time. to make sure. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. So hang on a second. We're going to come back in a moment. This is the Marketing Pulpit. We'll be finishing up on the news after the break. That's right. So you come on back here after the break. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about, finish up this news story. We're also going to talk about other things that are happening.
WOL, where information is power.
WOL traffic and weather sponsored by Unbound.org. The crash on southbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway between 202 and 201 has been cleared.
How's everybody doing this morning? Thank you for coming in.
Northeast between 20th Street and 21st Street closed because of Washington gas repair. On the beltway enter, the slow ride between Coolsville Road and New Hampshire Avenue. Traffic running slow on northbound Forest Creek Tunnel between Massachusetts Avenue and New York Avenue. Slight delay on southbound DC 295 between Benning Road and Pennsylvania Avenue. And a brief delay on southbound DC 695 between the 3rd Street Tunnel and M Street. Mostly sunny for this afternoon, high around 70. Clear tonight, low 50. Partly cloudy, 61 in Washington.
A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world.
Hey there, Brother Brown. Glad to see the greatest.
Unbound.org.
I'm Ken Berger for News Talk 1450 AM WOL. Information is power.
Boy, you have found the right show today. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday, 10:30 a.m., bringing you the good marketing gospel. Okay, let's talk about some more. Finish this news story, and we're going to talk about our marketing sermon today. I want to say hello to some of the folks that are tuning in. We see Gracie out of North Carolina. Hey there, Gracie. We see Kenny Jones, the musician, the fellow guitarist. Let me tell you something, Kenny. Our engineer over here, Alonzo, he's already invited me to bring my guitar over here, so I may have to bring you with me when I come over here and start doing this little rock session. We might go in the air here if we probably won't do that, but we might do a jam session somewhere. So thank you again. And like I say, everybody else, Gerald, William, Platinum, Kenny, Bradley. Good morning, brother. Bradley Thomas, one of the greatest intellectual property attorneys in the land. All right, folks. Now, look, I have to do this every now and then. Just to make sure you all are paying attention. We heard the story about this 5th grade teacher was arrested, had a kill list. I guess these students really got on his nerve. And he also, that was a lady. Oh my God. And Angelica. So these kids really got on her nerve in a bad way. So she drew up a list of students and teachers. Man, that's all this. That is wild. That's out there. This is what I did, though. I did a little test. We're going to do a test this morning to make sure you're paying attention. Make sure that this stuff is soaking in to make sure that we're making progress. So here's the test. Just see if you're getting it. Let's just say you're a teacher and you have this student that's really getting on your nerve. Little Taquan is really driving you up the wall. So which one of these should you do? 1, you give him some extra homework. 2, you can get him to go dust the erasers like they used to do in the day. 3, you can send a note down to the parents. Or number 4, you put him on the list to be killed later on. Folks, it's not that hard. You don't add your students to a kill list. I see too many 4s coming. All right, folks. I have more work to do. Also, if you want to call the station for a comment, 1-800-450-7876. If you want to chime in on the story about the teacher and the kill list, oh my goodness. Or these food fights that are going on. It's crazy out here. But that's not my audience, I know. But we need to know what's going on around us, and we don't need to escalate. We need to learn to walk away. All right, folks. Let's get into our topic for today. And like I said, call the number if you have a question, you want to join the conversation. 1-800-450-7876. 1-800-450-7876. Also, join us on Facebook. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube. We have a very good catalog of all the shows on YouTube. And you can go there and find out. You can do a search, matter of fact, on certain topics. If you want to find out about social media, go in there and do a search. If you want to do a search on networking or partner relationships, the 10 commandments of marketing, it's all there. And we're doing this as part of our greater mission of building strong businesses in our community and putting our people to work. Let's talk about our topic today. People are quiet quitting. People are just, they're quitting, but they're not letting the folks that are depending on them know that they're quitting. In the workplace, a lot of people have been kind of like, they're working to the contract, in other words. In other words, if you're supposed to work 40 hours, I'm not going to work 40 hours in 1 second. If my job is to sweep the floor, I'm not going to wash a single window. I don't care how dirty it gets. If I'm a contractor, I'm going to do exactly to the hours, to the work. And there's going to be no mission creep, no change of scope. So this is called quiet quitting. But some people have taken this, so that's how it affects people in the workplace, in the job. But what if you're a business owner? Or are you quiet quitting? Have you gotten to that point where you're just about burnout? You're like, if one more person calls me today, or you said, if they call me, I'm going to go work exactly to the number of hours that this job has actually been contracted for. If you have a retainer, if you have like a la carte job, you say, I'm not going to do one task, lift one finger beyond what I was contracted to do. We call that the quiet quitting. And some people are doing it not because they are they feel like they're tired. They're just tired of being in business. But let me tell you this, there is a cost. That's collateral damage when you decide to go out of business. You can't just decide tomorrow, I'm out of here. Because what happens, we spend money, time, resources to galvanize, to solicit, to bring people into our business sphere environment. And some people drop what they were doing. They may have dropped the service they were using before you came along. They may have made some type of sacrifice to support you. And then you decide to quit on them. Now, what is causing this? Okay, why are people doing that? Well, for one, there's many fathers of this particular problem. There's this obsession that we have to start a business. And like I said earlier, I am one of the biggest advocates for starting a business. But sometimes you're dealing with things like injustice, you're dealing with things like racism and nepotism on the job. You're dealing with things like age discrimination, the economy, the desire for independence, the inflation, and this misinformation that if you go out here and try it and it doesn't work, well, nobody gets hurt. That's what's driving this obsession to start a business. And I want people to start a business. Don't get me wrong. And a business doesn't have to mean you have to set up a shingle in a shop. You can do side businesses. You can do franchise. You can do online courses. But when you do it, you have to commit to it. Don't do it nilly-willy. Now, who helps drive us into these? Who drive us to the decision? Sometimes our family and friends, they're rooting for us. Hey, go out here and start a business. You don't have to take that. Then we have these social justice warriors like myself telling people to go out here and start a business, and that's going to be the panacea of everything wrong in the world. And then you have some of these consultants out here that are just doing it for the wrong reason. They're self-serving. And so there are different reasons why people go out here and start a business and then decide to quit, leaving people hanging high and dry. The victims are your stakeholders. If you start a company and you're not serious and you don't plan to stick it out, the victims are your stakeholders. That's your customers, your employees, your staff, the community, vendors, suppliers. When you decide to open that little restaurant or that grocery store, you probably had to bid or negotiate, and that it was only room for one. And you decided to come in and fill that spot. That means somebody else didn't fill that spot, and now there's going to be a vacuum in the community because now there's no grocery store. You have what we call food desert because somebody decided to get in this without thinking it through. And now you don't have a supermarket in your neighborhood. Investors, partners, all of these people who have put their stock in you, you told them, you gave them your word that you were in this business for the long haul, and now you decide to quit and give it up. Of course, you can't just go out here and keep a business going if it's not making you any money. But let's take this old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Plan before you take this leap. Do a business plan. Do a SWOT analysis. Are you suited for this position? Learn, and learn. Find out about this business you're about to get into. Do you have the right mindset to be a business owner? Just because you're a good plumber doesn't mean you're going to be a good business owner. Some people are just not built to be a business owner. It doesn't mean they're less intelligent or less qualified for their trade. They may not have that entrepreneurial gene. Do your marketing. I know I sound self-serving when I say this, but this going to be one of the number one reasons businesses fail, that and not having the right funding. Market. And marketing is not just about running an ad. You drop $5 on Facebook. Well, if I've advertised, it didn't work, let me close up. Marketing is about strategy, understanding who your audience is. Go back and listen to those 10 commandments of marketing, and you will realize that maybe you may be only doing 1 or 2 of them. If that's the case, you're probably going to fail and you're not taking this business thing very serious. What is your mission and your purpose? Do you have one? Before you take this plunge and leave people hanging high and dry, make sure your business is tied to something other than to make money. It needs to be tethered in a purpose and a mission. Do something for society. And you got to have some money. I hate to say it, but many companies out here, if they jump out here, well, I'm going to make it as I go. Well, that bootstrapping approach is fine in certain industries, but in a fast-moving industry like technology and things like that, you might face obsolescence if you're trying to make enough money, if you pay as you go. Some things require a cash investment or you're going to be left behind. So money is different for different businesses. Like I said, certain businesses, you can bootstrap it, make the money, put it back into business. But certain business, particularly business with a very short life cycle, you have to have an upfront investment. You have to go out and get a venture capitalist, investors, some funding, and so forth. Now, let's say you've done everything I've asked you to do, and you still find it necessary to quit, to turn in the towel, to give it up, hang up your hat, fold your apron, or any other ways to make this point. You need some type of exit strategy. Don't leave people hanging high and dry. I know. You fed up with it. I know I did when I was younger. I made that mistake. I won't do it again. But this is what we're going to do. Have an exit strategy, and just because you failed at this business does not exempt you from responsibility, because your reputation must survive this setback. So, folks, if you need have more questions about this, you want to find out more about the show, call me personally at 1-800-450-7876. Go to marketingpulpit.com and we can reach out and we can talk to you there. That's going to wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week at the same time on the Marketing Pulpit Show.
On the battlefield, there's a saying, America's military men and women.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Just trying to get a lot into a half in a short period of time. But thank everybody for tuning in. Let's see what we got here. We got a long list of tuners and enters.
Wounded Warrior Project is a nonprofit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Bradley. Thank you, Brother Kenny. Thank you, Brother Brown. Thank you, Gracie. Thank you, Platinum. And everybody else who's online who has not commented. To get your name called out, just leave a message in the comment section, and we will acknowledge you on the air. I'll be back next week. Matter of fact, I'm going down to North Carolina this weekend. Livingstone College is having their homecoming, so I'll be down there wearing my blue and white Sigma gear. So looking forward to that. But anyway, thanks again for everybody who's tuned in today. What we're going to do, we're going to go back, we're going to tune out with the Marketing Pulpit theme music. It's a brand new tune that we have created by myself and my brother Daniel Gatewood. And you can also hear it by going to marketingpulpit.com and YouTube. But anyway, I'm going to tune out here. We're going to tune out with the Marketing Pulpit anthem. We'll see you next week, okay?
Help fight breast cancer and join Radio 1 for Making Strides on October 22nd Learn more at
That's
makingstrideswalk.org
easier. Hang on a second.
/Washington, D.C.
WOL, Washington, D.C. W240DJ, Washington, 95.9 WNN.
Ask you a question.